Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Fanger, CEO of On Technology Partners, and I'm proud to be sponsoring our new program, Women STaRs. In each episode, we will spotlight an amazing woman and the struggles and triumphs that she has faced. Then we will reflect and share her insights. Our goal is to engage, entertain, and explore the women STaRs in our world today. I hope you enjoy.
I want to thank you all for listening today. My name is Shanti Harkness, and I'm the Media Manager for On Technology Partners, a women-owned company addressing cybersecurity and risk. Join us as we share the reflections of women just like you that have survived struggles and embraced triumphs in their lives. Today, we'll be talking with Charlita Anderson-White. Charlita is from Detroit, Michigan. She holds a BS in speech communications, a Juris Doctor, and an MBA in healthcare management. She has dedicated her entire career to public service, representing the underprivileged at the Legal Aid Society of Lorain County, assisting victims of crime as a Lorain County assistant prosecutor, and serving families and children as a domestic and juvenile court magistrate for 22 years. Charlita also currently serves as an adjunct professor at Indiana Wesleyan University, teaching a wide range of subjects, including communications and business and legal concepts, healthcare policy and procedure, and healthcare management and leadership. Her professionalism and community service awards include the YWCA Women of Achievement Award and the Lorain County Bar Association's Maud Washburn Award. She sits on several community boards, including the Lorain County Urban League, the Community Foundation of Lorain County, and the Lorain County Free Clinic. She's a former president of the Lorain County Bar Association and outgoing chair of the bar's Certified Grievance Committee. Charlita, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored.
Well, we're glad to have you. So before we begin, tell us something that others may not know about you or something exciting about yourself.
Two of my favorite things, besides being a lawyer, are gardening and music. So I am a certified master gardener, which is pretty cool, right?
I'm so jealous.
Back in the day when the home improvement stations, I don't know, so many of them now. But they used to have this show that just had the most fabulous gardens, and master gardeners were the hosts of these shows. Now you have these landscape architects and they're doing all this pool remodeling, all that. But these guys back in like the early part of the millennium and the late 90s were just developing the most beautiful gardens. And I was like, I got to do that. I want to do it. So I found a master gardener program in my community and I became certified. And so now my backyard is absolutely amazing. I just have to brag about it. Anyway, I was just getting into gardening and I was like looking at these wonderful, just bright, colorful gardens. And I was like, I've got to have one of those, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, let's not hire somebody. Let's just be that, right? So, and then also, I love music. I always wanted to play an instrument. I never learned how to play an instrument. So about 6 years ago, I was like out and about and I ran into a friend of mine who I knew played harmonica. And he was like, I said, I need to learn how to play harmonica. He's like, oh, come over to my house. So like 6 years ago, he taught me how to play harmonica. So like every year I go to Clarksdale, Mississippi, and I go to harmonica jam camp and I play harmonica. It's so funny. It's like you find these people from all over the world, Australia, Thailand, Canada, just everywhere in the United States, all over the world. And they love blues and they love harmonica. So that's like been like my life over the last 5 some odd years. And so those are my most proud achievements, being a gardener and playing harmonica. Now I'm not the best, I'm no Sonny Boy Williamson, but I am pretty, good. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty proficient. That's all I can say. I won't even say good. I'll say I can hit the right notes. Not always at the right time, but I hit them.
Wow. Yeah. That is great. And I have to admit, I'm jealous about the Master Gardener certification. That was actually something that I had wanted to do a number of years ago, but the only time that it was offered in my community at the time conflicted with times that I volunteered. And I was very, very committed to that volunteer work, and I wouldn't give that up, no matter how much I love gardening. So I actually bought the book that they use. So I've started to go through that to try to brush up my knowledge on that. But my hope is that someday down the road, I'll actually be able to complete that Master Gardener certification, because I think that would be wonderful.
If you're disciplined enough to actually learn from a book by yourself, then I think that's way further than I would have gotten, because I have to be in the class. I have to take the class. I'm always about the honeymoon,
hands-on,
and then I get into the situation. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but I get prepared. I'm all about the preparation. If I want to run, I go and buy the shoes. I sign up for a 5K. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta prepare. I'm all in, and then I find something else to do. But I don't have the discipline to do it by myself. Right?
It's certainly a lot harder. I would much rather prefer the in-person instruction. Definitely.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's dive right in. Sure. So, Charlita, we know that triumphs don't come without their struggles. So talk to us about what some of your biggest struggles have been. These can be either professionally or personally. And how were you able to get through them, and what type of an impact did it have on your life or career?
Well, let's see. I'd say back in the beginning, when I was just coming out of college. College was a task in and of itself, but it was a fun task. It was a means. I was away from home, and there weren't, as far as I was concerned at the time, I was, just downtrodden. Woe is me. This is the worst, hardest thing I ever did in my life. Then I went to law school, and I really understood struggle. I understood jealousy. I understood privilege. I understood intimidation. You know what I mean? I understood, because law school is scary. There's a lot of people clamoring for attention. You're being judged constantly. You're being intimidated. Your professors don't mean to, but they use the Socratic method. So you're always on the spot. You're always in a fight or flight mode, right? So I didn't realize it was going to be like that. Everybody who I went to law school with watched a paper chase. So everybody was prepared for that. But we didn't really know, and you probably don't even know what the paper chase is, right? Mm-hmm. It was a movie a long, long time ago about being in law school at Harvard. So that was the only actual depiction of what it was like to learn the law and to study law and to be, for lack of a better word, kind of harassed into learning what you need to know, right? So, but when I first got there, I'm from Detroit. My parents are fairly comfortable, middle class. We went to private school. My mom was a nurse. My dad worked at Ford. He had some other outside things that he did, like he owned a cab company, did all kind of stuff. So we were well off, but not to the degree that I saw law students come from. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize the privilege that the professors expected. And so I was there with just a couple other Black students in 84. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 84. And I graduated in 87. But the first year I was there, one of the professors went to the dean and said that I wasn't law school material.
Wow.
And I didn't understand where that came from, because I was trying so hard. It was just the first couple of months. And this guy went to the dean and said, I don't think she's going to make it. So I went she called me into her office, and I said, now this was I thought, well, how could he say that? What does he mean? I'm trying, I'm doing my best. I'm enjoying this. I didn't see any difference between me and the other students. And she said to me, well, he just doesn't think you're catching on. You're not getting it. And so I said to her, well, what are you going to do? And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, I'm here on a scholarship. I'm here on scholarship money. Right? Scholarship money. What are you talking about? You don't get a scholarship without decent grades.
Right.
And so I said, look, just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. I'm going to prove you wrong. Well, to make a long story short, two things. I hope that guy is suffering from a terrible rash that he can't finish. And, I've hated him ever since then, but I've always been mindful that is not only his impression, but other people's impression. You know what I mean? You never know what people are thinking of you, because this guy was never really outwardly hostile to me. But then to go behind my back and say, calling me to the side and saying, hey, this is what I want you to focus on. I I thought was horrible, presumptuous, and kind of mean-spirited, obviously. But I thought, this is what it means to be discriminated against, either as a woman or as an African American or just a kid without privilege. Because I saw some really dumb kids in that class, dumb kids. Couldn't figure out, what they needed to know. And I thought I was on top of it. Anyway, make a long story short, second thing, I went to law school for those 3 years without having to pay any more money. I was a fellowship and a scholarship student. And those were merit-based, right? And so when I was graduating, I wanted to see that guy at the end of the, on the dais, but he wasn't there. But I proved him wrong because they paid me to go to law school. You know what I mean? For the next 3 years, they paid me. And, that's something I find I find that validating. I'm proud of that. I still hold on to that angst a little bit, but I'm very, very mindful that if I hadn't had that challenge, I don't know. If I hadn't had to say to that guy, no, you're not getting rid of me. No, I'm not going. I'm staying. I'm not going to be something else. This is what I started out to be, and this is how I'm going to finish it. Maybe I needed that. So maybe that was a blessing in disguise. So, and second, again, people hate to say this, and I don't believe it, but I'm a breast cancer survivor. Breast cancer hit when I was just turning 50. I had scheduled a cruise with my girlfriends for August. And in June, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And so I had to go through chemo, radiation, mastectomy. It was like a whirlwind from hell. It was like you had to hit the ground running. You get the diagnosis, I remember the doctor couldn't even look me in the face, couldn't even look me in the eye and say, you have breast cancer. He was looking down and he tried to segue into this conversation about cancer. He says, well, when's the last time this and how you feel about that? And by the way, you have breast cancer. And I thought, well, son of a, what? I was like, well, crap. I said to him, I can't have breast cancer. I'm going on a cruise. That's exactly what I said. I'm going on a cruise. You're crazy. You crazy. And my husband was sitting there and he was like, okay, honey, calm down. And I said, you shut up. Let's get this party started. When do I have to go to see so-and-so? And whatever. And he said, well, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. I said, you just told me I had breast cancer. I want to see an oncologist. I want to I want to get a second opinion. I need a surgeon. I switched surgeons once. I switched doctors. And I just took control over that situation. So people say breast cancer changes you in a lot of ways, or cancer itself gives you a different perspective. It gave me a lot of fear and a lot of dread. I still live with that, but I triumphed over that because I've been cancer-free since 2011. So this will be my 10th year cancer-free. But I also find that in my life that you have to get over that fear. I had to quit drinking because I was too scared. So I was drinking every day. I came home from work. I was so scared. I just needed to just drink. So I had to quit. So that was 9 years. I haven't had a drink in 9 years. I've been cancer-free for 10 years. So the perspective is, this can't define you. This doesn't defeat you. And I find that you have to share that message with other women because when I got diagnosed, it seemed like everybody in my circle was being diagnosed. My sorority sisters, my coworkers' wives. And so what I did was I started making these big pink breast cancer baskets to give these ladies a sense that they are not alone. Because no matter how many people tell you they have breast cancer or they know somebody with breast cancer, or no matter how many people are out there with breast cancer, this, you don't know it. You just feel like it's only you. And you can go to a support group or survivors group. I don't care what it is, but you're sitting in that chair all alone. When that meeting is over, you got to go home or wherever you're going and deal with whatever it is going on inside of you. And that's an unknown, no matter how many treatments you get, no matter how many surgeries you get, that can come back or it can never go away. And so you need to be that strong force for other people. You need them to know, hey, look at me, I'm okay, but you're not me, I'm not you. And so you got to tell people, don't do two things. Don't let other people tell you about their breast cancer or their family cancer or their friends. Just cut them off. I'm sorry. I just want to hear good things. And, you want to make sure that you only surround yourself with people who are just working towards healing. So, that was a triumph. I couldn't share that message enough. So these baskets just got more and more intricate, stuff that I would find. I start picking up stuff at the store. You'd go to Dollar General and you'd see all this pink stuff at the especially in October, you see stuff at the counter and you just, I just had mounds of pink stuff. And so I just had to share that with my friends and the people that share, that I found out. And it was jarring because, they say 1 in 4 women is going to get breast cancer in their lifetime. And so if it had to be me, I'm glad it's not one of the other 3 friends. You know what I mean? It's not one of them. So I don't know. It was the worst. And like I said, I'm still dealing with that triumph and trying to stay in that triumph and not be defeated by that. Every day you wake up and you wonder, is this the day that it's going to come back? Or every appointment you have, is they going to tell me something awful? So that's a continuing struggle and a continuing triumph, So helping your friends and remembering to stay focused on just being okay, just being okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's I guess you can call it a double-edged sword, Wow. That's it.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
You're welcome.
And I think it's so wonderful and such a great support with you putting those baskets together for people, because especially with that kind of a diagnosis, you're absolutely right. It can feel very isolating. And so having that support, even from somebody that, might not know you personally, like you said, some coworkers' wives, you were making baskets for. And I just think that support and outreach is just so wonderful. And, I'm sure made a huge impact on so many women's lives. I think that's wonderful.
I hope so. I want it to be that way.
So Charlita, did you have any other tips or tricks or any methods that you used to help you through those challenging times?
Well, I don't know. I think you just always have to be bold, right? Everything we do, like I used to say, boldness is its own virtue. And now I say that you just have to put yourself on top. You have to make yourself big. You have to always remember that, you're special. You have to say to yourself, you're special. And, I don't know how, and I don't know, I don't know the degree to which we are all special. But when somebody tells you can't do something or something looks like it's going to be a block, you have to go around it, right? You have to say, whatever, just tell me no. So I'm reading 48 Laws of Power, which kind of is no different from the power of positive thinking or, Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. All these self-help books say the same thing. But this is a really cool quote that I always like. And it's make your own coronation. The greatest emperors always crown themselves.
Oh.
Right? So, how we always, if you're on Facebook, you always see, but wear your crown, girl, put your crown on, and queen, and, good sisters adjust each other's crown, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But, I like, whatever. How'd you get that crown? I gave it to myself, right? Mm-hmm. because sometimes you're not going to get your coronation. You're not going to get coronated by other people. So you have to make yourself big. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you are conceited or that you're haughty. It just means that you gotta make sure that you understand that if someone has a certain place or space in this world, that they got it the same way you have to get it. Either they got it, I don't know, maybe they had a certain privilege, maybe not. Maybe they scratched and climbed and dug their way to this space, and what you have in your toolbox, right? You can only use what you have. So if you have to make yourself big, you have to do that the best way you can. If you have to be the loudest, the one that's the most obnoxious, the one that the one that's the most showy, like a peacock, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to do that, and maybe you have to find ways to be subtle about it. But peacocks are not subtle at all, right? Mm-hmm. Just kind of walk around, and they're so wonderful. You just have to look at them, and they don't have to do anything except for just live their lives, And so they tone it down every now and then, right? They close up those feathers, they walk around, but then if they need to, boom, out comes the big colors, right?
They make themselves big when they need to.
Right, when they need to.
Yeah.
So
it's a great analogy.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because we all clamor for attention, and sometimes if you're applying for a job or you want to be something, you have to kind of toot your own horn, because that's how you get where you need to go. Nobody's just going to grab you out of the back of the line. It doesn't happen like that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Got to speak up.
Yeah, you got to speak up. You got to stand out. You just have to be seen. And I don't know, you do. I mean, I became a magistrate because my boss ran for judge, and she was looking for, and I had done juvenile law my entire career. I devoted my career to juvenile criminal law. And when it was time for her to pick a juvenile magistrate in a domestic relations court and a juvenile magistrate, she was looking at somebody else. And I went into her office and I said, with all due respect, this is my job. I'm the one who has dedicated my whole life to this. I know this law better than the person you're looking at. I don't even understand your decision, but let me just impress upon you that you are not picking the right person for that. It's me. This you're looking at who you need. And so I did that. I did that in 1998, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And had I not said that, I don't know, maybe I would be happier, maybe not. Maybe I'd be somewhere else. But I guarantee you I would have been propelled to do something big or bold, or, if she had said, no, I'm not hiring you, I would have been so incensed. You know what I mean? I think that I would have probably found something else in my life to make me happy.
It's just a testament to speaking up for what you want, because in 99% of the cases, it's not just going to be handed to you.
Right.
I think especially as women, a lot of us have a tendency to just kind of keep quiet and not speak up for what we want, whether it's promotion for a new position or for training or for support, whatever it might be. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to do things on our own and to just, be seen and not heard. And your example is, perfect for showing, when you really want something, you need to speak up. You do. Because it's not just going to get handed to you.
Right. I mean, I've been really into Dr. Timothy Snyder lately. And I don't know if you've ever read him, but after the January 6th insurrection, I don't know if that's a dirty word, but after the January 6th insurrection, the news outlets went looking for, someone to talk about historically what this is looking like. And Dr. Snyder is a professor at Yale, history professor. And so he wrote this book, 20 Lessons on Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. And one of the tenets of his book is, standing out. Because if you kind of shrink back, then people think you're not going to pay attention, you're not going to act. And so people who kind of he really talks about Europe and the Holocaust and that kind of thing, and how fascism was allowed to grow and fester in an atmosphere where people didn't maintain their professional ethics. They didn't maintain their responsibilities to speak up and stand out. They didn't maintain their responsibility not to obey in advance, those kind of things. And so, and I'm not trying to sound like I know all the answers and I'm so big and bold that I, can run the world. But what I'm saying is, you learn from reading people that kind of support your theories on how you live your life, but you also learn from events in the past, and you learn that people interpret those events, and that most of the time, history really teaches you how to behave in the future and to watch for what's going on, what went on in the past and how. And so we know with the struggle, in wars, and we know the struggle of feminism, we know the struggle of, racism, we know all of that. And so the lesson, I think from that book and from just watching things happening in the world is that, you do have a responsibility to stand up as best you can and speak out and stand out, and not to, shrink into the background, because nobody will, maybe you're the voice, maybe you're the voice of reason. Maybe you're the one who has something meaningful to add to the conversation.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier about, your biggest triumph and also, your biggest struggle, both at the same time. Is there another triumph that you'd like to share?
Well, I'll tell you, I did something that's, scared me, really, I was so afraid of. Now, most people don't want to put themselves out into the community because especially if you want to run for public office. I ran for judge, and I have been a lawyer since 1987, right? And it took me till 2018 to decide to run for judge. I've been watching people of certain levels of competence in my field across my career aspire to higher callings, but I was always too afraid to do that. Some won, some lost. I lost, but I ran against a sitting judge. And that was the scariest thing ever, because once you get to be a judge, you expect that that's going to be your job, right? And you don't want anybody to try to take it away from you. But in Ohio, people vote for judges, right? And so when you get ready to run again, you expect that no one's gonna, fight for your job, because that's your job. And so when the Supreme Court saw that, these judges throughout Ohio were not being opposed, they really were, even as we speak, they are having a conversation, maybe not so intense during COVID, but they're having a conversation, or they started a conversation about how we're going to address these fiefdoms, right? How are we going to allow other people to develop their own career aspirations and other people to run for judge when they're afraid? Because, you run against a sitting judge, all the lawyers get scared, they don't want to be retaliated against, they don't want to support you, nobody knows who you are, blah, blah, blah. And so that's kind of what I experienced. But the Supreme Court said, at least what I was thinking, they said, yeah, that's right. We got to figure something out. Are we going to appoint judges? Or are we going to encourage other lawyers to run against sitting judges? And so I was thinking the same thing at the same time. This doesn't belong to anybody. So just the whole triumph of like pulling the petition against a sitting judge was like treason. It was villainy. Everybody was angry. People were angry. People were astounded. People were, Nobody said, very few people said to me, hey, I'm proud of what you're doing. But you know what? My mom got to vote for me, and she passed away 2 years later, but she got to go to the polls and vote for me. So I was like, there we go. Who gets to do that, right?
Right.
So that was a big triumph for me because I was scared to death. I was like, I had gone to the doctor, and it was one of those cancer maintenance appointments, and I have to have it every December or January or whatever. They do a little MRI, whatnot. And I was going back for the results, and I was like, son of you, I've got to, hear this news again, and I said, if it's bad news, what am I going to do? If it's good news, what are you going to do? If it's good news, you do what you started out to do. You go straight from the doctor to the elections board and you pull a petition to run for judge. You do it. And so I was driving down the street with this good news in my head and the music bumping, and I drove right to the Board of Elections and pulled petitions. I did what I said I was going to do, because you know what? Anytime you go back to the doctor, they can tell you something that you don't want to hear. And it's not just for cancer patients, okay? It's for everybody. You might have something going on with your kidneys or your liver or your heart, or you might have a rash. I don't know. But when you go to the doctor, you don't always get good news. So when you go to the doctor and you get good news and you got something sitting on the back burner that you think you need to do, and you don't know if you got time to do it, then today's the day. Today's the day. Now, I lost, but I didn't lose. Because I'm brave. I was brave. You gotta be brave.
Gotta take those chances.
Right.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Right.
So what are you gonna do today?
Word. Right. Word.
Absolutely.
So there it is. I was scared, but I got over it. So that's another triumph. I mean, we always see the glass, half empty, but it was a pretty cool thing. I met a whole lot of people, spent way too much money. But that's okay, because you know what? You got to be the best trier forever. Yeah. You got to just try it all. Try everything.
Because you'll never succeed if you don't try.
Right. But it's just fun to try. And I didn't realize it was going to be so much fun. But I was really sad, that I lost. But I was, after a little bit of reflection, I sat there, I had this little party, and the election results came in, and I lost, and people started trickling out. And I was like sitting there in this big empty room. And so one of the bartenders came over and said, I heard a whole lot of cheering back there going on. What's going on? Did you win? And I said, no. He said, well, why was everybody so excited? I said, because we tried. We did the best we could, and everybody was happy for me. And I was happy that I tried it. And then I just paid the bill, which was like $700. And I left. So I lost, and I, paid for everybody to eat and drink while I was losing, right? So it was okay. It's all right.
That's great. And I love how you said that it was fun to try. And I think that's something that we all need a reminder of too, is it doesn't have to be scary. I mean, oftentimes it appears scary, but if we approach it in the mindset of, this is going to be fun to try. And if it works out, that's great. And if it doesn't, it's still a new experience. And like you said, you met a lot of great people and, great experiences, so even if it doesn't work out the way that you want, you can still have fun trying and still learn and grow and succeed in different ways.
Exactly. And, people, there aren't very many Black lawyers in Lorain County where I'm at. I think there's like 3 Black women in this entire Justice Center with law degrees, just 3.
Wow.
And so no Black lawyers have run for judge since we had one Black judge back in the 90s. And so it's been almost 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And so why are we just sitting on the fence? So I had that in the back of my mind too, like, you got to represent for these ladies here, because a young man just passed the bar last year, and he was in the newspaper, made a big deal, because that's where you are in a small town, so they make a big deal. And he said that he had not met any Black lawyers, and I was incensed. Like, wait a minute, we're here. we're here. He just didn't know. But is that his fault or ours?
Mm.
Right? Is that our fault that we didn't go out into the community and say, we're here. You can't be what you can't see. So yeah, I wish, as a magistrate, when I meet all these kids, they don't know that there's an African-American magistrate, and they don't know that there are any Black lawyers in the Justice Center. They don't know. So when they see me, they kind of are taken aback, like, oh, you're the magistrate. Now, oh, I mean, people of every color and walk of life come into the courtroom and go, oh, you're the magistrate. Like, it's 2021 and people are still, I mean, in the virtual world too, people are still taken aback. Whoa, like, well, what do you think you're going to see when you walk into this space? And so, yeah, I think that was our fault that he said that. So we did need to do better, especially for the young girls who don't know, unless they come into the juvenile justice system, that there are Black female lawyers here.
Definitely got to get that word out.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlita, as women, we juggle a multitude of different things. There's career, family, household responsibilities. Sometimes there's illnesses or caregiving. So talk to us a little bit about how you maintain a work-life balance, and what do you think that employers could do to be more supportive of that balance?
I'll tackle the second question first. So first of all, nothing has come into better focus during COVID than the need for employers to appreciate what their employees are going through with respect to mental health in their families, in their lives, in the workplace. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of sadness, and there's a lot of distance, literally and figuratively. You can't get close. You can't touch each other. You can't hug. I mean, this is the workplace, so that's kind of stuff you don't do anyway. But but in terms of your personal relationships, if you're careful and you appreciate what COVID can do, if you've lost anybody, any people in your family, any people in the community, which we have, how scary this thing is. And so it takes a toll on employees who are either working from home or who have lost their jobs, or who are working in this space where you may have to be closer to people than you should, or further away from people than you want to be. And if you're working from home, you're alone. And so a lot of depression, a lot of, sadness and fear. You see people just kind of walking down the hall, like exhausted mentally. So employers need to really start thinking about what can we do in terms of supporting our employees, if that's a mental health day, and, if that's just assuring us that, you're willing to listen. My mom died during a pandemic, so I couldn't celebrate her life. And so my boss was really good about it. I needed some extra time off work just because I had to plan, her cremation and figuring out what we're going to do and all that. And there was no family. I couldn't bring, nobody, it's interesting how in any community, that's what funerals and wakes do. They bring people together for comfort, for love, for solace. You didn't have that, we didn't have that. And not to take anything away from my sweet husband, but I needed my sisters, my family. We needed each other. We couldn't do that, and so she gave me an extra week just to kind of settle down, just kind of get rid of some of that sadness and anxiety. And that's what I really needed. I was ready. I was refreshed. I was ready to come back. In the meantime, I had been able to write some thank you letters, some thank you cards. I was able to just, talk on, the phone, on Zoom with my family a little bit more. I was ready. I was able to go and have a seat or lay down when I had a chance, when I wanted to, when I needed to, instead of, being tasked with being on all the time. Because when you're on the bench, you're on. It's like a play. It's like a stage performance. You're attending to people, you're listening, you've got your lines, they've got their lines, you've got arguments, you've got responses, you're just engrossed in this scene, And so sometimes you just need to be away from that. You need to take some time. You need to be able to limit your docket. Speaking just personally from where I sit, you need not to be overwhelmed. And so that's the first question. The second question was, what would I suggest, right, to other young women? Is that what your question was? I think.
What employers could do to be more supportive?
Yeah. So that was the first question. That was the second question. I answered that. So your first question though was,
how do you maintain your work-life balance?
Okay. I don't know where I got that other question, maybe from your site, but like I said, I do all kind of different things that make me feel like I'm learning something outside, as far away from this choice of careers as possible. Like I wanted to learn how to golf. I didn't know how to golf. So about 5 years ago, I started a golf league. None of us could golf. We persuaded the golf pro at the Metro Parks golf course to teach us how to golf for free. And so he taught us how to golf, and we had a golf league, and we've been playing golf every Tuesday at 5:00 for like almost 5 years, right?
Oh, wow.
So you've got to do stuff like that, right? So I learned how to play the harmonica. I was in a play last year. I was Whoopi Goldberg's part in Sister Act the musical. Like,
oh my gosh.
I'm not a good singer. But I was a theater minor in college. So, I mean, now look, I graduated from college in 1983, right? So that was almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was so fun. I was just fun. I was away from here. I was just enjoying this new family that I had met, this new theater family. And I kind of came out of my shell. I got rid of the, lawyer persona. I was that, you got to be in theater, you got to loosen up, you got to sing, you got to dance, you got to move. And so that was the best fun ever. And it's far removed from being, a magistrate, or being a lawyer, being on all these boards and being this and that. And a couple other lawyers joined in, and, every lawyer wants to be something else. Like every lawyer wants to either play a musical instrument, sing, dance, be in a play. They won't tell you that, but they do. They want to be something else. We all are lawyers because they say that we're bad at math, because we swear we should be doctors. We want to be doctors, or we want to be famous, we want to be on stage or something like that. But yeah, so it gave us few lawyers a chance to just like break out, and people were like, oh my God, that was so much fun. How did you get to do that? It's like, somebody called me up. So, I mean, it's kind of the luck of the draw, but now, I'm interested in like starting a little theater group for women, right? After the pandemic. Okay. Because our last performance was the weekend before the country shut down last year.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So, so that's what I do. I do everything else, right? My husband and I, we like to go to the lake. We like to go, Lorraine is not too far from the Lake Erie Island. So we like to do that. You got to make time for yourself. You got to make time. You got, most of the time I just like to be in the garden, or I like to, walk the dog, just simple stuff like that, just to get out of that space in your head. Mm-hmm. But I swear, whatever I can find to do that's distracting, I will do, just to have the experience and say, yeah, I did that. Like about almost 20 years ago, I opened a bar. I opened a restaurant and bar. My mom cooked gumbo. It was like a little blues club. It was so funny. And, the family came together. My uncle cooked, my mom cooked, my cousins and I attended bar. It didn't do well after, restaurants fail, it failed, but we did it, right? We did it. And it was open for like a year and a half, and we had a good time. And like, we just need to always kind of stretch outside of this limited space we're in. So, I write, I love to read, I love to write. And last year, and everybody, I guess, has a novel sitting in a drawer somewhere. I do too. And last year, I took a introduction to feminist theory class, because I just was like reading about, just critical race theory was coming up. And so I was looking at Dr. Brittany Cooper and reading Audre Lorde's stuff in the background and, looking at Kimberly Crenshaw's work. And so I decided to take this class, and it was hilarious because I was the oldest lady in the class. These were all like community college students in their 20s. And what was funny about it is that I would write these long, drawn out, discussion answers, and they would be like, yeah, so-and-so happened, and this is it, and da-da-da. And they were so precise and so succinct. And I was thinking, how come you can't do that? How do these young women put things in such a tiny little nutshell? And they made sense, and they were not as wordy as me. And so that taught me a lot to learning from the younger feminist theory perspective, And so that was fun. So I take classes, I do stuff, I do everything. If somebody asks me, hey, do you want to learn how to, I don't know, sew? I'm like, sure, let's go. Let's do it.
Always open to new things.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's what gets me out of the funk I'm in, whenever I'm in it, finding something new to do.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of those.
Oh, no. Thanks for asking.
So, Charlita, how would you define success for yourself? And do you have any tips or habits that you use to help you to be successful or to feel successful?
Let's see. Tips or habits. Well, I guess I would say I'm tenacious. I mean, my habit, I'm not the most disciplined person. I've already said that. So maybe all of these things that I do would make the average person think she's got ADHD, right? But the tip and habit is to finish what you start. Find, I always know, like I see all those books back there behind you because we're on Zoom, nobody can see, but I see all these books now. I don't know what the titles are or what you want to get out of those books, but I'm always looking for new ideas, new information. I'm always learning. Okay. And for some reason, I feel like when I was in college, when I was young, what I would encourage people to do is something that I didn't do is make sure you find that thing that you love early. Now we all change and grow, as we get older. But like I said, the harmonica just kind of is the easiest instrument to play very badly, but you play it, right? And you don't have to read music. But I really, what I wanted to be is I wanted to play drums. I wanted to be a musician. I should have, and I hate to use the word should, but I wanted to follow through. I was playing drums in college. I started to play drums in law school. Law school got to be too much, so I put those to the side. So I lost anything that I would have learned. But that's my absolute bucket list, or if I was to die tomorrow, that would be my one regret, that I didn't finish what I started with that. So one of the things that I always try to challenge myself to do is finish. If you have an idea, you read one of those books and it says something that's exciting, you want to take a trip to Italy or whatever, then okay, do it. Finish what you start. If that's intriguing, if you find something that's intriguing, do it. Finish what you start and do it early, and follow through with it. It doesn't really matter if you do it early or not, but for me, you look back on your life and you go, I wish I had finished. I wish my mom had made me practice the flute. You know what I mean? I wish my mom had made me practice the guitar. I wish my mom had let me go to France when I was in ballet class. You just kind of, you have these wishes, I wish that I had done X, Y, and Z. So you don't want to be left with those kind of things, which is kind of the same circular argument I'm making, is that, you have to always find new things to do, constantly keep yourself interested in something and finish it. And then you can say, I've done that. I put that on the back burner. I'm done. There were some kids in college that kind of dropped out, and I never heard from them. I never knew what they were up to, but I thought man, I wish there, and one girl was like, my mom told me I could just come home. And I went to my mom and I said, Mom, can I just come home? Because I was at Northern Michigan University in Marquette, Michigan, which is the shark on top of the mitten in Michigan. It's all across the Mackinac Bridge. And it is like the Arctic tundra of the United States, right next to Sault Ste. Marie, and it's freezing. And so people are like, I'm not staying here, I'm going home. And I said to my mom, Mom, can I come home? And my mom said, sure, you can come home, but where are you going to live? And I was like, I'm going to come and live with you. She's like, no, you're not. I take you there to go to school, and that's what you're going to do, and I'll see you in 4 years. And really, she wasn't kidding around.
Right.
And so my sister and I, we went to school, and we didn't have a choice really. But so my mom kind of planted that seed of finishing what you start. She wasn't educated, but she did become a nurse. And so she always wanted to make sure, maybe she lived vicariously through us, but my sister is a doctor now, and I'm a lawyer, and my mom's very proud. She was very proud. My dad was very proud. So, that kind of started way back when, finishing and not quitting. You can't, there's no plan B, right? There's just no plan B.
Yep. So is that what you would define as success for yourself, is finishing what you start?
Sure. I mean, that's all we have in the end, right? I mean, I wouldn't be here in this job, making a living and supporting my family and enjoying meeting these wonderful friends that I have and dealing with, the kind of professional respect that I have, that I get, that I give. You don't get to be the chair of the grievance committee unless you are respected. Because the grievance committee is the committee that disciplines or that sets out the terms under which a lawyer is going to be reported for an ethical violation. The ethics committee is the governing body that investigates, malfeasance and ethics violations from lawyers. And these are lawyers that are your peers. And so when you are kind of elected or, catapulted to that position of being the chair of that committee, your reputation has to be impeccable. And not to say that there before the grace of God, don't go I, because we could all wind up in that committee. Somebody could file a complaint against you and just be spot on. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you screwed something up. Maybe you forgot somebody. Maybe you didn't call somebody back, whatever. But I wouldn't be able to say that I could do all those things if I hadn't finished what I started, if I hadn't seen what I could be, what I needed to be. And like I said, I wanted to be a judge, but that's not in the cards for me. So it's okay, but it's okay because I do have a certain level of success, and I do have a lot of respect for my peers. I enjoy my community, my friends, and that would be another thing that I would say. Keep your women friends, maintain your friendships with other women, because when it's really all said and done, your girlfriends are the ones that's going to follow you right into the ditch. They're going to be like, where are we going? And whatever. Okay, girl, I got you. I'm with you. Let's do it. And, whether you're going to lead them down the ditch or whether you're going to lead them somewhere else, they don't care because they're with you and you're with them. And you just have that closeness in it. So at some point, it just becomes, well, here we are. And what are we going to do? And we're just going to be together and have a good time. Maybe we'll go somewhere, we'll go camping and it'll get rained out, but we're going to figure out how we're going to have fun together, how we're going to survive this, And so that's the best thing. That's the best success, is being able to spend time with your friends, spend time with your family, and have a good career. You don't have to. I didn't die when I lost the, election. I thought I was, but I didn't. You don't have to be, that. You can say you try. At least you try. Like I said, it goes right back to my whole life's message is, just gotta try. We'll see what happens, right? We'll see.
Absolutely.
What happens,
Yeah. And that's a great set of mantras to use is we'll see, because then it kind of gets rid of those expectations and just allows you to be more spontaneous and more inspired and just open to the possibilities, which is so much better than, kind of constricting things with certain expectations that may or may not get met.
Right. Exactly. And then also, you kind of surround yourself with women who also are inspiring you and each other. And, you can always pick your crew. You always pick the people who either agree with you on everything or agree with you on some things or don't agree with you on anything, but you see who they are. You love them anyway. They love you anyway. You try not to talk about things that will, intensify your differences, right? But you just kind of remember that, in the end, nothing ever really matters except for your friendship, your relationship, how they affect you, how you affect them, So yeah, I really have to say that's one of my favorite things that my mom taught me is how to be a good friend, how to surround yourself with girlfriends, because she had a bazillion of them and very close friends too. And they would have so much fun together and they would do so many fun things together. And, that's what kind of teaches you how to be a friend.
That's great. So if you would take a moment now and reflect on something that you wish you would have known sooner in life and share that with us.
I wish that I had known how much I wanted to follow my dream of becoming a musician. You keep putting things on the back burner. I just wish I knew the longing that I would have had. If you don't do that thing that you think about years down the line, you're gonna wonder what happened to it. You're gonna wonder how you let it go. It's not so much just that one particular thing, but I don't, what if there's something that you wish that you had done, but you don't remember why you stopped, right? Or you don't know how you wound up dropping this thing out of your head. And then, well, you're certainly not as old as me. I just turned 60 last Tuesday.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. But when you turn 60 or 50, you start looking at your life and you go, what is it that I really, really wanted? But I'm not saying that you should have regrets. What I'm saying is I wish that I had known what I was dropping was going to be so important to me as I got older, which doesn't discount the fact that I picked up the harmonica and went to Mississippi, and that's been a big part of my life. And I love that. But I really wish I had been more attuned to what I really wanted. Not that I don't want to be a lawyer, but there are people in this world that you see on TV or you listen to and you think, if there's anything else in my whole life that I would have wanted to be, it would be X. It would be, there's always somebody on Facebook talking about, if you could do it over again, what would you do? Well, I started out college as a filmmaking major. And I made a couple of movies, and then I realized that math was not my strong suit, because here's a little tip for you. Film is math. Editing is math. You cannot make a film unless you learn how to edit, and you cannot edit unless you are proficient in math. And I'm talking division, fractions, geometry, trigonometry, whatever you need to know. I mean, really. Because things show up backwards, things go fast, things go slow. You need to know that. And I was not a math girl. And so I got rid of it. And now, like I said, I was playing the drums. Like that was my second love. So either one of those things, if I had stuck that out, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. Because, as you probably can tell, I'm really an exhibitionist at heart. I talk a lot. I'm very expressive. I like to be heard. I like to be seen. I like to engage. This is another way to do that, but I really like performing, right? I really, really, really love it. So yeah, that would have, that's my only regret is that I didn't, my whole thing is you got to finish what you start. But I have a wonderful husband, I have a wonderful son, I have a wonderful community. I enjoy my life, and my sadness and fear kind of goes away when I'm engaging in doing things that involve my family and friends and my work.
That's great. And this ties really nicely into my next question, which is, what advice would you give to young women that are just beginning their careers, or even women that are thinking about changing their careers?
No, I would say just for women just starting out is remember your professional ethics. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you want to be or you want to do, always remember that, hold on to that, because years from now, things can come back to bite you. These young women on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat or whatever, I have a Facebook page and, but I don't know how to work Instagram or LinkedIn or any of those other things. But, I consider myself to be quite open and liberal, but you always have to remember that when you say something or when you decide to take a position on something, does it jive with your professional ethics, whatever it is you want to be? I don't care if you're a cashier at McDonald's, you have professional ethics there. You have something that you have to do to make sure that people trust you in your position, that people trust who you are and how you're and they can predict what you're going to do. You know what I mean? That what you're going to do is fair, what you're going to do is in their best interest, in your best interest, in your employer's best interest, So that's one of the things that I would stress very strongly. And secondly, is that young women always remember to, demand that they grow, demand that you have an opportunity to grow, that you don't just stay stagnant in one position, that you're constantly trying to move out of that position and be something else. Always try to be something else, like gone are the days where you could retire after 30 years. Now, I've been here 30 years. I didn't realize 30 years was going to go by so fast, but I did the right thing by surrounding myself with other things, other people and things outside of this space and other things to do, right? And other things that can lead me down another path. Now, that just being engaged with certain agencies and organizations put me in the path of being on this podcast, being involved with other things, making sure I stood outside of this space. It allowed me to meet people that, where I could be in a play or where I could actually address my peers and teach a class, So, I went back to school to get an MBA in healthcare management. I didn't change my job, but what I did was I met lots of other interesting people in my classwork, and I was offered an opportunity to teach at Indiana Wesleyan. So I get to teach, right? I get to share what I learned. So whatever you do, whatever you learn, however you are employed, always keep looking for something else to do, because you can't just sit in one space,
Absolutely.
And there's something about moving, and something that moves continues to move, momentum or something like that. You just keep the momentum going. You have to just keep it going. And
keep it going and keep growing.
Right. You have to, because you'll look around and you'll be 60 and you'll be in a job for 30 years and you can't, and I don't know, I'm pretty proud that I can look back and go, I did this, that, this and that and that and that and this, that and that. And when I leave, I'll be okay. And, I'll always be a lawyer. So I can always volunteer for legal aid or help battered women or do something, because I always have my lawyer hat, and I always have my license to practice. So that's what I would say is always maintain your professional ethics. And that didn't come from me, that came from, Dr. Snyder, but keeping the momentum going, that's what I live by. That's my creed. It's just keeping busy, keeping going. Because if I didn't have other things to do, even while I was getting breast cancer treatment, I was planning, I was planning. I wasn't sitting around thinking, well, what if I die? Well, I was, but I was not saying, I'm going to wear this in the casket. Well, I hope they put this wig on me, or I hope they put this dress on me. I wasn't doing that. I was like, next year we're going to Disney World, or next year on my anniversary, I'm going to have this. And so I had planned all these things. I kept those plans in place. And while I was in chemo, I actually planned a trip with my friends to go to New York. And we did. We had the best time. And there's nothing like autumn in New York. And so we did that. We just walked around. I was a little tired, but I walked around. I didn't back away from that. It's like, chemo. No, you just got to keep your plan. Keep your plan.
Just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So Charlita, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, you can reach me on Facebook. It's just Charlita D on Facebook. And my whole name is Charlita Anderson White. And you can message me, or you can't post on the page, but you can call, right? Or you can message, right? But, yeah, I mean, I don't have any other titles except for the board memberships that I'm on, but yeah, that's the best way to catch me. It's just send me a message. Yeah. I don't know what I could offer, but yeah.
Okay. Well, Charlita, it has been an absolute privilege speaking with you. Thank you again so much for taking this time.
You're so welcome. And I just want to thank you and Ashley for reaching out to me and tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to ask me a few questions and let a little old lady share some triumphs and some what do we talk about? Triumphs and
struggles, triumphs, and reflections.
And
yes.
So I just, I admire you ladies for your podcast, because it's a wonderful tool to reach out. And so I love it. And that's the next thing my friend and I are going to do. It's like, we should have a podcast. I'm like, okay, we'll think about it. We'll see. Right?
Next thing on your list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, On Technology Partners wants to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women STaRs. If you'd like to appear on a future podcast episode, or if you'd like to nominate a woman to be interviewed for Women STaRs, please email stars@ontechpartners.com. My name is Shanti Harkness. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. Remember, you are all women stars. If you wish to learn more about our Women STaRs program, or want to be a guest on our show, contact us at stars@ontechpartners.com. And thank you to On Technology Partners for helping me make this program a reality. Remember, we at On Technology Partners want to help you protect your team from hackers. To learn more about our cybersecurity services, go to ontechnologypartners.com.